Welcome back to The Mouse and Men, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. Be sure to visit us at themouseandmen.com, where you can find the top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. You can also find links to our social media, or just find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at The Mouse and Men. You can go to YouTube, where we broadcast the podcast. And today, here with me, co-caster Chris. Chris, how you doing?
What's up, buddy? I'm great. Any chance we can talk about our perfect scenario in any of the parks makes me happy. So the fact that I'm sure if you clicked on it at YouTube or if you were listening to it on the podcast, you see we're talking about the perfect day at EPCOT. And I couldn't be more excited to talk about that.
Well, it's been a rainy couple days here in Nashville, Tennessee, where we both live. So to be able to just mentally transport myself to sunny Florida as we're preparing for this perfect day at EPCOT. I mean, it's a great way to get out of the nastiness that Nashville's had the last couple of days.
You know, that's a funny thing that you bring that up, because when I am imagining a perfect day at Walt Disney World, I never imagine rain happening. I actually never think of the humidity, which I think if you went in the middle of fall or spring, that there's going to be some sort of humidity because it's the middle of Florida. But I never take those in consideration. It just is, it's the perfect weather, perfect temperatures, perfect scenario, not a big crowd. And so that's always going up in my brain. And it's different when you get there in person, but no less magical if you are actually in person at Magic Kingdom or EPCOT or any of the other parks that we've been talking about.
Absolutely. And I'll say this too, if you're an adult, you don't have a lot to carry, you know, you're not carrying diaper bags and big strollers and all that sort of stuff. Just pack a poncho or a rain jacket. A day in the parks when it's raining is a better day because crowds are lower, lines are shorter, you can do a lot more stuff, there's more room to move around. I've been caught in the Magic Kingdom in the rain and I loved it. So if it's raining, try to get to the parks because everybody else is kind of heading inside. As long as there's no lightning and thunder, and you know, as you're coming down Splash Mountain, you get struck by lightning. We don't want any of that. But if it's just a little bit of rain, it had never hurt anybody except the Wicked Witch of the West. So,
you know, that's so smart, and the fact that you can put one of those ponchos that you can buy at a Walmart or Target or something like that, it's just like pocket size. So it doesn't even take up that much on your person if you threw it in a pocket, if it was just your back pocket, a cargo pocket, whatever it may be. And then you're good to go for a whole day's worth of fun, even if it starts raining. That's a great tip.
Yeah. You know, and I've got, I think it's a North Face rain jacket, and it packs down into its own pocket.
Oh, it's perfect.
It's not huge. So if you've got a small backpack, especially one that will fit underneath a rain jacket, you just pack that in there. If it starts to rain, you pull it out and you can cover yourself and your backpack. You're good to go. But I am so excited today to talk about a perfect day in EPCOT. So without further ado, let's go to EPCOT.
So here we are at EPCOT, and a couple of weeks ago we started this series called A Perfect Day At, where we take one of the parks or downtown Disney or the entire Walt Disney itself or Disneyland, whatever it may be, and just come up with your favorite things to do for that particular area that you're talking about. So for EPCOT, we're going to be talking about your favorite place to stay. And for me, I want to be as close to EPCOT as possible, so I may be skewed. Like a couple weeks ago, I picked staying at the Contemporary, so I could just jump right on that monorail and be at the Magic Kingdom in a matter of minutes. And similarly with this, we pick a place to stay, and then you're going to spend the whole day in this park. So think of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Think of your favorite snack. Think of the rides that you can't miss, and plan your perfect day at the parks. So today we're doing that with EPCOT. And as we started off with last time, and this time as well, you got to wake up before you get to the parks. So even before you start your perfect day in the parks, you're planning to get to the parks by waking up Where, Bradley? Where would you be your favorite place to stay on site? Or I guess it doesn't have to be on site of Walt Disney World Resort areas. It could be off site if you needed it to be. But for you, what would you choose to spend the night in and wake up going to Epcot?
Well, you nailed it when you said at for the Magic Kingdom, you want to stay at the Contemporary because you can walk or you can ride the monorail. And what's
True.
great is the monorail also goes to Epcot. So what I'm saying is you could stay at the Contemporary still.
True.
Or, like you mentioned, if you want to walk, and I picked this strategically too because I thought I knew where you might go.
Ooh.
I'm going to stay at the boardwalk. And I'm going to walk the boardwalk, which I've run the boardwalk, whether it's in the morning or in the evenings. But walking that, especially as the sun's coming up, getting to Epcot right at rope drop, maybe earlier if you can get a dining reservation. The boardwalk is where I'm staying.
I love that. I've never stayed at the boardwalk. I've always wanted to. I've walked through the lobby of where you check in at the boardwalk, and so I'm a bit familiar. But my ideal place to stay at the boardwalk is, and so I'm asking this almost as a question, hoping that it's a reality. Is there a way to stay at the boardwalk where your room looks over the boardwalk itself? Because if that is possible, I need to make that one of my destination landing spots for where I stay at a hotel the next time I'm at Disney.
Yeah, or you stay just across the water where you get to see the boardwalk from one of the resorts on the other side, which especially at night is quite a scene.
Yes, and going along with that, that is actually where I would be. I would be at the Yacht and Beach Club, staying there, again, like the boardwalk, within walking distance to the back entrance of Epcot. My family and I did that several years ago, and probably, I'm going to say, top 3 vacations I've ever been on, awesome. Regardless of if it's Disney or not. Just the amenities, the location, the walking distance to the boardwalk to get a slice of pizza in the evenings, or to Epcot, or jump on a boat and ride on over to Hollywood Studios. It just it's so nice. The Sandy Bottom Beach pool that they have there, it's just top notch. I loved it. I would do it again. And so that's where I'm staying. So really smart that you strategically chose somewhere that you thought that I would not choose, because I'm a creature of habit these days. I would go back to Yacht and Beach Club in a heartbeat.
Well, I'll walk over from the boardwalk. You walk over from Yacht and Beach Club, and we'll meet right there at that entrance into Epcot, which puts you right there in World Showcase, and we're going to go get breakfast. So, Chris, if you're buying, where are we going
I'm buying
breakfast?
Yeah, we're going to do a nice breakfast. We're going to make sure that we have all the food to give us all the energy for our long day at Epcot, because as we know, walking around any park at the Walt Disney World Resort area, there's a lot of walking involved. And so we need to get a lot of energy. One of my favorite places to do breakfast, period, is going over to the Garden Grill at the Land. Yeah. It's a character breakfast. It's an all-you-care-to-eat breakfast. It also
character to eat.
all the Chippendale you care to chow down on. Yeah, exactly. We won't eat any characters, but we will enjoy and high five characters, or I guess maybe elbow bump now in post-pandemic world that we live in. But I actually had this meal years ago. Loved it. I loved it just felt fresh. It felt fun. There was a lot of food, which again, me and my mid-20s, just the more food, the merrier. But the Garden Grill is such a perfect spot. And the actual the restaurant rotates as you're sitting there. So you always have something new to look at. Great food, just like home cooking, bringing big potatoes and stuff out in skillets. And it's so much fun. So that's definitely where I'm going to do breakfast. It's not the cheapest option if you're just trying to get a quick breakfast to get into the parks, but you do get in an hour earlier, depending on your reservation. You can enter the parks an hour early to go to Garden Grill. So if you can do that, swing it to where you're finishing up about the time that the parks are opening, then you're really ready to rock. So that's my first choice. What about you?
Yum. Well, I think I'm going to the only other table service that does breakfast over in Norway. I believe it's pronounced acre hoose. So I picked it because, look, there may be a theme today, and it may be more about food. Look, we did an 12-part series, 13-part series just on World Showcase about mainly drinking our way around World Showcase. But there's quite a bit of food as well. But it's the other table service breakfast option that has a buffet. Now, I don't think they're doing buffets right now, but when it comes back, this is where I'm going for breakfast, because you can't get enough breakfast food. It's just impossible. I mean, have you ever said, I've had too much bacon? No.
Yeah, I may have said that one time when I was
uttered by a sane person.
Yeah, I was going to say I was kind of in a fugue state. I was dating bacon for a while, and it just didn't work out. So I'd had enough, but I'm back on board now.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing for breakfast.
Love it.
Because look, if I can get in before the park opens, great. If not, I'm gonna relax. EPCOT can be a relaxing day.
Yeah.
Of eating.
Yes, I completely agree. If you're going to it makes complete sense why something like the Food and Wine Festival or the Garden Festival happens at EPCOT, because it is known for a place of being able to choose food from around the world and to be able to be a bit more leisurely with the whole pace of it, especially World Showcase. It's meant to walk and enjoy and peruse and learn and absorb these cultures. And so, yeah, I agree. You need to have your energy there too. So there's a lot of food options in these areas. And I think that we picked the two best. I'm just going to go ahead and say it for breakfast. Absolutely. At least. Okay, so now that we've had breakfast, we both got full bellies from the all you care to eat and not all the character you care to eat foods that we're enjoying here. So now we're going to go do a ride. If you can only choose one ride all day long, where are you going? What are you doing?
So this may be because we just talked to Jonathan 2 weeks ago, talking about what we talked about with Jonathan a week ago. But I'm going to Mission Space. And even on a full stomach, hey, give me the rougher experience. Give me the one that really puts my body through those G-forces. I'm ready for Mission Space first thing in the morning.
I love that. And you're right. With those G's that you're pulling on Mission Space, if it doesn't make you sick, I'm wondering if it could just help digestion that much more. Right. You've just gotten finished with the big all you care to eat meal.
Yeah, it just pushes everything right through so you can go right back. And if it's still technically breakfast, do they charge me again, or can they still just charge me that one time?
Okay.
It's the ones, you see?
Yeah, here's what you do. Yeah, you're not too far away from Mission Space in Norway where you had breakfast. Have somebody like your wife just hold the table. Maybe the baby needs a quick nap or something, and you're like, I'll be right back. I'm not quite finished eating, but I've used up all of the space for eating. I'm going to run to Mission Space, run back, and do another round in the buffet line.
Yeah, I can't remember if Mission Space has a single rider line, but that's what I need. Excuse me, waiter. I need to run to the restroom. It may be a few minutes. Run over to Mission Space, book it back. Right. Okay, I'm ready for second breakfast.
Yeah. I need to go to the Mission Space. The bathroom. I'll be right back.
So, Chris, I think I know what you have to ride.
Yeah.
What is your must-do ride at EPCOT?
We were laughing off camera or off the mics here right before we started recording, but I think that if you go back to the 30-something episodes that we've released so far, I would say at least half of them I have mentioned this ride, if not had detailed discussions of why I love the ride so much in half of these episodes. But it's, I got to go I got to go to my spot. I got to go to the big golf ball that it was known for. I didn't even know what was in there at first. I just saw this big golf ball back when I was really young as the thing was being built. But Spaceship Earth, I got to go ride that. I didn't even know that it would be my favorite ride, but I was drawn to it from an early age. And here I am now in my 40s, still being drawn back to that same thing. And so a perfect day in Epcot for me would be to start off the day there. And because I was able to get in an hour early because of my dining reservation, I'm going to ride it as soon as I'm able to, as soon as the rides are on. And then that's the last thing I ride at the evening right before I leave, like you and I did last year when we had our Drink Around the World challenge. But it's got to be Spaceship Earth. There's just the nostalgia, the fun, the smelling the chili cheese Fritos at the Burning of Rome portion of it. It just brings all of those things back to me. And the idea that they're going to hopefully be refurbishing it or redoing it or retelling the story a little bit in the future intrigues me enough to where I can't wait to go back and try it again. I know they push pause on those refurbishments at this point, but I'm excited about what's coming in the future. But I'm definitely riding it at least once, if not twice, in my perfect day at Epcot.
Hey, a Spaceship Earth sandwich. You know, you ride it right after breakfast. It's the last thing before leaving the park, and everything in the middle is just, you know, double stuffing from Oreo. So,
yeah.
So, you know, it's been too long since we've talked about food, since I just brought up Oreos. What are you doing after getting off Spaceship Earth? Now it's time for lunch. I know we've only been in the park 15 minutes. Where are you going for lunch?
Okay, so we had such a big lunch, and I'm not going to be holding myself. Yes, thank you. We had such a big breakfast. I'm not going to be holding myself back for dinner because after all, we are in Epcot. So, I mean, it's known for all of the cuisine from around the world, and I want to try to sample as much as I can. So I need something that's going to give me energy, but I want something quick service now. So I'm going to walk up to the La Cantina La Cantina de San Angel. And again, for all of you people who could pronounce this correctly, I'm just going to go ahead and apologize for all of my mispronunciations throughout this episode, which there are going to be many. But I'm going to go there. I'm going to get 3 tacos. I love that place. That was one of the first places that I remembered, like coming back as a young adult and having a lunch there. And again, just being able to sit out there and to fight over the birds that are also trying to take my tacos, that's just an adventure in and of itself. So that's where I'm headed. That's what I'm eating. I may enjoy the afternoon with a margarita instead of my normal bottle of water that I would get during lunch in most cases. But I'm getting older.
There's water and tequila, right?
Yeah, well, true. And there's water everywhere. I can't get a margarita everywhere. So I'm going to enjoy it while I am in the Mexican pavilion at Epcot. What about you?
Yeah, so I will absolutely butcher this name, I'm sure.
Woo, I'm excited.
But like you, lunch not as heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm headed over to France. We've been there before.
Yep.
Les Halles Boulangerie Patisserie. This is... Yeah, don't laugh at me.
I love it. No, I love it. I'm just glad that I wasn't trying to say it because mine would have sounded worse.
Well, yeah, like I took a year of Latin and 2 years of Spanish, and I remember how to count to 3 in Spanish. That's about it. Yo quiero Taco Bell. That is all I remember.
There you go. Yeah.
I learned that from a Chihuahua on television. But this is where we went to get, and I ain't even going to try to say this, the ham sandwich.
Sure.
Because I just need something to keep me going. I may get, what did we get? It was it like an ice cream martini? Like a couple scoops of ice cream with some rum over it. Oh man. So
Grand Marnier and some rum.
That's what I'm talking about. So that may be the quote unquote drink that I get with lunch. That may be my beverage. But that's lunch. Not too big.
No.
Maybe a little adult beverage to go with it.
There you go.
Plenty to find in World Showcase. But that's lunch. So I've had a big breakfast. It's breakfast has probably come out one end or the other after days. I put something in my stomach over in France. Now I'm gonna do something a little more low key. But Chris, where are you going after lunch?
Okay, so right before I go to lunch, I'm going to say that I love that sandwich that you're eating at lunch, eating for lunch in the perfect day at Epcot. I love that sandwich so much to where I have it semi regularly at my house.
There you go.
And so a bit of a hack for some of you that want to try this ham sandwich in the France Pavilion. Get a baguette, get some butter, put it on there, toast it on your broiler in your oven for just a bit. You don't want to get it too brown. Just kind of add a little buttery goodness in there. And then tavern ham, specifically tavern ham, and provolone cheese. Put those on there, put it back in the oven, get those good and melty, especially that cheese, slap them together. And again, take a baguette and cut off about 6 to 8 inches of it, and then fill it up with a butter, tavern ham, provolone. If you want to go real specific, get piquant provolone. And then right as rain. That's one of my favorite lunches of all time.
Well, I will trade you half of my sandwich for one of your tacos.
Perfect.
Because surprisingly, Mexican food did not end up anywhere in my day. Maybe it's because I get it at home, even though it's not as good.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
all right. So yeah, definitely, if you want to make it at home, it is possible. I still like it at Disney better because they make it for me, and I feel like they make it with love. And so I'm just going to go ahead and go with that. So then after lunch, just like you're saying, let's talk about a guilty pleasure. We talk about our favorite ride. What is my favorite guilty pleasure? Just like with going to Magic Kingdom for me, it was the Hall of Presidents. For whatever reason, I love the Hall of Presidents. I also love the Carousel of Progress. It's not going to be high up there on the cool places to go, the cool rides to do. And much like that, in Epcot, I love living with the land in the land pavilion. I love it so much. For some reason, like learning about aquaponics and hydroponics and all these different types of ponics, and seeing all the things that they can grow, all the fresh vegetables.
On ponics.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I went there. Oh, I have to agree with you though. Living with the land was almost what I chose, but to get to walk through and see all these cool things that Disney is doing and how they grow a lot of what you eat there in Epcot and maybe some other parks as well.
Yeah. What
a cool experience.
Yeah. And so I'm realizing as we're talking about this, that for me, if I go to the Magic Kingdom, in my mind, the feeling that I have going there is a feeling of nostalgia. I feel like that I'm a 10-year-old kid again, going to experience some of my favorite movies and cartoons. And I go and do that at the Magic Kingdom. If I'm going somewhere like, I would say Hollywood Studios, it's more about excitement. I want the version of Chris to show up that's ready to ride roller coasters with his hands up in the air. I want thrill rides. If I'm going to Epcot, it's more about learning for me. It's more about just taking it easy, soaking it all in, but it's definitely not about a rush kind of thing. And that's what living with the land is for me. I learn, I get to sit there. There's several places within the ride that is nice and air conditioning, which is almost always a criteria for me if I'm going to have a guilty pleasure. It's like I'm going to do it because of the AC, if nothing else. But I just learned so much that I want to do it over and over again. So living with the land is my guilty pleasure. What about you?
Man, I love that. The whole idea of coming away from Epcot, learning something. I'm going to come back to it. But my low key / guilty pleasure, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give two. One that I haven't done, but I want to. One is the monorail, because the monorail goes through Epcot. So just to ride the monorail and look out and get that perspective of Epcot is one. The other is very similar. It's the new Skyliner.
Oh, yes.
And I can't wait as you're coming down, descending in, not into, but right next to that gate. I believe it lands right over where you enter World Showcase.
Yeah, I believe so.
So those are my low key experiences. Technically, they're not inside Epcot, so I cheated. Technically, they're two different things, so I cheated. But I mean, you get a cool perspective of Epcot that you don't get just walking around from ground level.
True. I love those. It's funny that sometimes when I'm in the monorail and I'm looking down at the people at Epcot, I think, ha, suckers, here I am in this nice little monorail. I'm enjoying this. And then when I'm in Epcot looking up at the people on the monorail, I look up and go, ha, suckers, I'm in the park and I'm about to go ride Spaceship Earth. So I feel like
the
that
grass
I
is always greener on the other side of the monorail. Yeah.
True. I love that.
Okay, so
I think that these count. I think they count, even though they're not in the parks. They're park adjacent, and even though they're not actually one choice, they're both ways to get yourself to Epcot.
Yeah, we're still experiencing Epcot. It's just
boom. There you go.
We're not necessarily in. Well, monorail, you're in the park, or I guess you're just above the park. So after those low-key experiences, it's dinner time. And I am ready to just load up. Let's carve out. Let's go to Italy.
Ooh.
To Tutto Italia. Give me spaghetti. Give me lasagna. Give me pasta. Load me up. If you got a never-ending pasta bar, hit me with it. So that is what I'm doing for dinner.
Love it.
Chris, where are you headed?
I'm going to the France Pavilion. I'm going to sit down with my lovely lady, and we're going to go to Chez de France. And we are going to kind of recreate a date night that we had from a few years ago.
Yeah.
Where I started off with the lobster bisque. I'm a big seafood fan, but that lobster bisque there with just that little bit of sherry in it, just such a good flavor. Then for my main meal, I'm going to do the steak frites, which I believe is essentially steak and fries, although you can get mashed potatoes or whatever. I think that when I was there, I got a steak with mashed potatoes and some green beans, really flavorful. Nice glass of wine to wash it all down with. But for dessert, I'm going to do dessert here, and I haven't done it all day, except maybe that margarita over at the cantina. But I'm going to, But I'm going to get the creme brulee for dessert, and that is going to be a meal to remember, my friend. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, it is right behind your right shoulder in the backdrop that you have there from France Pavilion.
Yeah. So I didn't know we were doing dessert with this.
My bad.
But while I'm over in Italy, you got to get gelato. So
yes.
A lotto gelato, that's what I'm getting. Just to put on top of all that pasta. I'm going to look like the Jet Puff Michelin man, they got to be related, just blown up as big as a house.
Hey, that's okay. You're on vacation. You eat what you want. You're going to be walking around everywhere and sweating from the heat and humidity. It's Florida.
Yeah, I'm going to look like Violet from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They're just Oompa Loompas are going to have to roll me out of Epcot. Even though it's not a Disney IP, I understand.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we'll bleep this out.
Yeah, we can edit this stuff, right? So, okay, we've had breakfast. We've ridden our must-do ride. We've had lunch. We've done our guilty pleasure. We've had dinner and dessert.
There you go.
What's left, Chris?
Well, you're not going to be able to experience a perfect day, without having two things. One, we talked about main meals, but we haven't talked about snacks. We need to talk about snacks. And if you're going to be talking about snacks, might as well, in one hand, have your snack, and in the other hand, picking up that souvenir, that must-have souvenir that you need to get in the parks. So what about you? A snack and a souvenir to round out your experience at Epcot.
Okay, so I think I've said this before. My snack is that maple freaking popcorn over in
There
Canada.
you go.
And I could say, my souvenir is going to be my popcorn bowl. But no, my souvenir is going to be a little less tangible. You mentioned when you said living with the land, Epcot's more of the learning center. Well,
Yeah.
just taking in, especially from World Showcase. Look, Future World East and West has a lot of cool stuff too. But what I love about World Showcase is all the different cultures and getting to experience a little bit of all these different types of cultures. Right now, they don't have cast members from those countries working. Hopefully, they're bringing those back soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think just with travel restrictions and with health restrictions, it became a big mess. But to get those people back and get to talk to them, get to learn about their cultures, that is the souvenir I'm walking away with when I leave Epcot.
I love that. Yes. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get my snack first. And then with my snack, I'm going to shop for my souvenir. But my snack is something that you mentioned earlier in the show. I'm going to go to the, what is it called? I'm going to mess this up too. So I'm going to say the English translation instead of the French version that it's essentially translated to the ice cream maker over in the France Pavilion, the Les Artisans de Glace, which I'm sure that it sounds nothing like that from an actual speaker. But it's going back and getting that ice cream martini. That thing rocked my world when we were there a few years ago. 2 scoops of vanilla bean ice cream with alcohol infused into it. Oh, yes. That's my snack.
I love it because the ice cream, it's great after dinner. It's great in the afternoons. They also had, what was it? Was it the is the slushy? That was the other thing we got.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Both of those just great for a hot summer afternoon in
Yes,
Florida. Eat it in the shade because it will melt. But I love that snack. Okay, so where are you going shopping for your souvenir?
Okay, so I'm in France to get my snack. So I'm going to put that in my left hand like a gentleman and sip on it and snack on it while I'm walking. But then I'm going to walk right over the bridge from the France Pavilion back to the UK Pavilion. And I'm going to go find myself a Murphy keychain with the Murphy crest and the name emblazoned on it there. I just thought that something that I can use every day. This will be nice. Like if I can get the goofy ears or the Mickey head with the ears kind of thing on it, and that will be great. And that will sit in my closet or on a mantle somewhere, and I'll get to look at it and think of it. But every time I get in and out of the car, pulling out my keychain, I look down and see my Murphy keychain that I got from the UK Pavilion in the World Showcase, in Epcot, at the Walt Disney's when I went on that vacation. That's going to be something I can look at and remember every day. So it may be something that I could get elsewhere. It's not necessarily something that is so Disney and unique that you can't find it anywhere else in the world. But I like the idea of having something that I can look at every day and remember from my vacation. So that's going to be what I'm going to grab.
I absolutely love it. Oh man, I want to go back right now because this is the perfect day. Now I got to say, I've been kind of crisscrossing across the park. Maybe not the most efficient day, but the perfect day.
Exactly. Efficiencies for it. That's for another time. Yeah. Today is just about soaking in every experience that you can imagine.
Yeah, and picking our favorites. So, okay, before we leave Epcot, what is your favorite area of the park? Now, it's only got a couple areas where Magic Kingdom had all the different lands. So we're a little more limited, but what is your favorite area of Epcot?
Okay, so I'm taking a little bit of a liberty here to answer this because you're right. We have World Showcase, which is all encompassing this one big area, but it has all of these different countries that are represented. So you can take each one of those, and each one of the Future World as they're currently known, has two different sides, but they have these other areas like the seas and the land. And so there are different areas there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to enjoy myself. Again, what we said a little bit earlier is that for me at Epcot, I love to learn and I love to take my time. So what I want to do, my favorite place is to go to the Rose and Crown Pub back in the UK Pavilion. And I want to get a good seat outside with a nice breeze, maybe while I'm waiting for the fireworks spectacular to start. And I want to park myself there with a nice pint that I've gotten from the Rose and Crown Pub and just people watch. I love it. It just seems like, for whatever reason, it seems like a very busy area that people are constantly walking by. And I know that's obvious because we're inside Walt Disney World, and any place is going to be busy. But I love the people watching vantage point from that area. I can feel the breeze off of the water there, but I can also enjoy all the people walking by and just relax for a little bit. And in my 40s, that is part of a perfect day at the parks for me.
Well, I'm not too far from you. My favorite area is all of World Showcase. Look, it's great, it's grand, and you get to experience so much. And if I want to sit down and people watch, much like you, I've got a spot where I want to do that, and that's in Germany. We did this when we got a big as your face pretzel, or maybe bigger than my face pretzel, and sat down just outside the Germany pavilion, and you can just watch people walk by. You can look out over the lake as well, World Showcase Lagoon, but just a great place to people watch there as well. But really, anywhere in World Showcase, it's a great place to learn. It's a great place to people watch. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, well said. Yes, and I think that we accomplished our goal. I think that if I experienced that day for me, that'd be my perfect day at Epcot. And it sounds like that you are ready to go right now. I mean, all we have to do is push to stop recording here, and we could be down there in a matter of about 12 hours if we left now.
You know, and if we take the Mini Cooper, one, we'll be riding down in British style, but two, we may get there a little bit quicker.
I like that.
But let's jump into plussing for this week, because I think there's a little bit of a tie-in to some things that we've talked about earlier.
Ooh.
Pluses.
So for plussing, I may have mentioned this on the show before. It's on Disney Plus. It's a part of National Geographic's offerings on Disney Plus. It is called Drain the Oceans. And the reason I bring this up is we were talking before we started recording about, Chris, this is one of the few things that we actually talked about before we got started. Your souvenir is going to be that keychain with your name on it, because Minigan, Murphy, these are some Irish names. We know we come from the British Isles, somewhere over there in our lineage. Well, learning the history of London and the origin of the name London, how that used to be, fortresses right there along the river. It's really cool. In Drain the Oceans, they can, I don't know what kind of technology it is, sonar and all this special stuff, but they get to see what's been buried under cities, under silt from the ocean or whatever it is. Or, I mean, they do a lot of shipwrecks as well, but you get to see what London was like, I mean, millennia ago.
That's awesome.
Really interesting. And because Epcot is kind of the learning park, where you get to experience different cultures, you get to experience a lot of different cultures in Drain the Oceans. So that's my plussing for this week.
You know, I think that with all of the other offerings that Disney Plus has to offer, that there are some marquee things that they're offering. All the Marvel, all the Star Wars, all the back catalog of the Disney stuff that's, you know, Disney cartoons from from decades and decades ago.
Yeah.
That the National Geographic portion of that doesn't get talked about as much, but again, it hits me at a place where I am in my life that I like that almost as much as all the other ones. And so something like Drain the Oceans or some of the different types of kind of planet Earth type documentaries that you can watch that are National Geographic offerings within Disney Plus, I love, and I'm so happy that it's there. It doesn't get hyped up and talked about quite as much as the newest thing coming out from the Marvel version of Disney Plus or whatever, but no less important to me. I love that, and I really appreciate that. And then also going back, I think that we should just call EPCOT the land of leisure and learning. I think that's what we should call it, the EPCOT.
Hey, I love it. I think we need to work in marketing for Disney, help them rebrand Epcot just a little bit. The land of leisure and learning.
I love it.
It works. It fits. It's got alliteration. Could you ask for anything more? Chris,
only 2 scoops of vanilla bean ice cream. That's the only 2 things I would ask for more.
With a little Grand Marnier. Just
oh yeah.
Take me back. So, Chris, I have loved this perfect day at Epcot. I gotta say, I can't wait for Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom. Sometime we're going to have to live out these perfect days just to make sure it's feasible. I mean, surely we're only riding 2, maybe 3 rides. We're just eating a whole lot. So that's going to be the biggest trick is stomaching all that and then going and riding Mission Space. But Chris, thank you for going back to Epcot with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. This has been a blast as always.
And we want to know, you listening at home in your car, maybe on your way to Walt Disney World, what is your perfect day at Epcot? You can let us know on social media at The Mouse and Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also email us. Just go to our website, themouseandmen.com. You can email us there. While you're there, make sure you download the top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. You can also find us on YouTube or you broadcast the podcast. Make sure to subscribe so that you get our weekly episodes there. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast listening app as well so that you never miss an episode. Chris, look, we've done a lot of exploring today. Epcot is the land of leisure and learning. Part of learning is just exploring, going places that you haven't really been before. It's great. It's just another way that we remind ourselves not to grow up too fast.
But as you were saying a second ago, and it's always true when you're at Disney, you got to keep exploring.
Look, we're not about being accurate. All right.
Don't grow up too fast or remember all the words. Just keep exploring.